These guys over here, that student right there, as a matter of fact, I think, the one that's got pointing the camera at us,
Okay.
says, now when you get talking to her, ask her about legalizing marijuana.
What?
That's a good question. It's a very good question.
Here comes real.
Let me just
See, I
sit
told you,
down right here.
now we got their attention.
Of course he points towards me.
First of all, I do have a bumper sticker for this. Fines, not felony.
Mm-hmm.
It is criminal to make it a felony. I'm still not convinced that nilly-willy smoking marijuana doesn't affect you. On the other hand, and see, this is with me, I study issues. I see people who drink I can't name the drinks, but they're all like jazzed up, and they're doing 10 things at once, and they're all over the highway, and they're causing crashes. Why? There you go. And that's a favorite one, by the way, of some of my students. And then you've got the people who alcoholic. So you've got that. There are arguments for it, and there's arguments against it. But how about we just come to the table first and foremost with someone who's not backed by the pharmaceutical industry, who's just simply a person who has observed a lot of things in her lifetime. There is a lot of discussion to be had there. Where I don't think there is a discussion is the fines and felony. There's a rippling effect to that. And I've heard horror stories. This one student had a joint in his backpack. It was just some little whatever that had been in there for years. And the horror story that went on because of that. And it's insane.
I'm sure his life is ruined because
it is. And that's the ripple effect. You go to prison, you get out, and guess what? You can't vote. Now people say, well, you can go through the steps. The steps are so odious, nobody can do it. So how many people? Now what's wrong with a nation that has, I think the population in the last, 10 years or so has gone up 39%, and the prisons 790%. There's something wrong with that.
just shifting gears.
I'm good at that.
Okay. And just something that's a little closer to my heart, I guess, being an ex-science instructor. What do you see on the horizon for global climate change and things that we need to do in terms of conservation?
Disaster, disaster, and more disaster. The best science tells us we've already messed up.
Yeah.
And it's we're making plans all over the world for the sea level rising. The little seed packets for y'all who garden. Last year or the year before, I can't remember which year it was, after how many decades, centuries, whatever, you'll notice the color line of when you plant. They moved it up. The whole petroleum thing, the fracking. It is horrifying what's going on. Absolutely horrifying. When the pipe burst up there, and by the way, in geography class, it's in our textbook about the Exxon pipeline, has been. I've taught it for 4 years now. It's in our textbook. We know it's not a good thing. The scientists know it's not a good thing.
You're talking about the one in Mayflower where they had the spill?
Right. Now, the Mayflower, it's a different pipe, and it comes down like up in Illinois down this way. It cuts through the heart of the 4th district, this pipeline. It's an old pipeline. It's not even, I don't think should be even having oil, just plain oil, but the tar sand. Tar sand by itself, right out of the ground, it's kind of like a Play-Doh type thing. But in order to get it through the pipe, they put some of the most toxic chemicals known to man. They have to do it to send it through the pipeline. It's highly corrosive. Well, it burst up in Mayflower. They say, well, it was just one time it burst. No. I checked the neighborhood out there. And in the neighborhood out there, and I say the neighborhood, western Garland County, it burst out there 20 years ago. But I haven't gotten an on-the-ground confirmation except the people in the neighborhood know exactly where it happened and when it happened and all that. But even before they took the first bucket load out, and by the way, you see a satellite view, what they're doing up in Canada is such a crime against humanity, against the earth and everything else. What they had to do, and I want people to think about this because I'm not a scientist, but you say you come from a scientific background.
Right.
A lot of our storms, the whole weather. The weather comes from up there. It's
Right.
kind of created up there for a variety of reasons up in the
The,
way
the
north.
famous polar vortex.
Okay. Yeah, okay. But before they started digging, the first thing they did was to cut down the boreal forest. This was miles and miles and miles and square miles and more square miles and more and more and more square miles of boreal forest was eliminated before they, and now they're digging it out. And my thought is, didn't that boreal forest have a reason for being
Of
there?
course it is. It's part of the environment.
Yeah. And how is that affecting us down here? Is it making the, and I'm just talking here.
Yeah,
Is it
that's
making
hard,
the-
that's hard
Yeah.
to tell.
We
But
could
yeah,
go on, we could have, I'd love to get with scientists and discuss that personally.